Welcome to the Writing Channel with me, Nick Cole, and I am so happy to see you. It is Tuesday evening, and we are going to talk books, and more books. I'm looking around to keep an eye on the chat on Rumble, and tonight we are on live at X with the real Nick Cole. And we're over at the YouTube channel, which I'm still trying to figure out what its identity is. Why I am doing all this social media, I might say to you, or I might be just asking myself, because when we do things as authors, you've got to ask yourself stuff. You got to talk to you.
Fun. We had a good time.
And of course, the show jumped in to jump in and show. Let's see. Hold on real quick. Okay. That show is running. It is up and running. Comments. You got to ask yourself when you do things, why you're doing things. Because that's just a good policy in life. In the military, that's called an after-action review, in which you do something, you have an incident, and then you kind of go over it. And I have one friend who puts it rather eloquently, how did we shine and how did we shit? And, you know, that might be a little rough or whatever, but you might also just say to yourself, like, okay, what did I do right? And what did I do wrong? You can do that every day. You can do that every writing session. You can do that every time you publish a book. I highly, highly encourage that. I have to do it to myself all the time. Hey, Leo, good to see you tonight, buddy. I think you're the first one here, and if you're the only one here, we're going to have a great show. No, I think we have about 11 people watching right now, but the number is growing and stands poised on the edge of going to number 12. It's a good idea to analyze what you're doing, and we can apply that to writing books, which is what I wanted to talk tonight about writing your best book. If you have some questions and you feel like being brave and jumping into the show, like our good buddy Plumber Dave did last week, or you want to come in and read something, or you want to ask some questions, the link is up there on the screen, and you can basically copy and paste that into your browser, not the join us part, and I will set you up to come to the show, and we can talk, and I would love to talk with you. But going back to the after action review and how you want to look at how you write your books and the things that you do. How's my mic? Let me know if everything is 5x5 in the pipe. What you're trying to do is improve your game. You're trying not to make the same mistakes. You're going to definitely want to do that with your writing. You definitely want to do that with, thank you, Virgil Kane, 5x5. You're going to want to do that with your social media presence. And I've kind of tried to just basically break down social media for you, what it is. You are not going to find an audience on social media. I really don't encourage running ads for your books on social media, especially Facebook. I think you can do it with X. I've seen some good results with X. But initially, when you're just getting going, stay away from the ads. What social media is it is there to curate. Mic is good, sounds slightly muffled, but totally clear. Thank you. What you're there trying to do on social media is you're trying to get the people who've actually read your book to come find you. And you want to create a relationship out of that. And you want to be able to point them towards your website, which I'm actually building a new website right now. And I'm hoping to debut that this month, and there will be some interesting things on there to start off with if you are a strange company aficionado, or if you are a new project person. There's going to be some nice stuff over there, and there's going to be a couple of free things for people that you can get off the website, because that's the end game. I want to get you over to my website. I want to get you to sign up for my newsletter. Why? So that I can market hair growth pills to you. And I want to be able to tell you the next time I release a book. I don't want to do anything else. We're not going to, I'm not going to give you a weekly update, my news and views and all that kind of stuff. That is not the purpose of a newsletter that I would run. The purpose of a newsletter is you liked this book. Guess what? Book 2 is available. Thank you for your time. Or I might be offering some physical books. People are really now trending towards wanting to get physical books because they're trusting less and less the AI nature of ebooks. We have seen that certain ebooks are being rewritten. I have strong thoughts on AI. They probably verge into a spectrum that has nothing to do with the writing channel. You can actually look up my Substack, CTRL ALT Revolt. That's a little spicier. You can subscribe and go over there. I keep everything behind the paywall because it's a little spicy. Not as in, naughty words, but I just it's not for public consumption. Not everybody who reads a book for enjoyment, and that's my main purpose, is to create books that people can enjoy and escape into because life is hard. I want to entertain you. They don't necessarily need to be hit with, my weirdo conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But if you like that kind of stuff, or you kind of figured out exactly what kind of werewolf I am, then head on over to CTRL ALT Revolt the Substack and check it out. There was a really fun one today talking about the sort of untrustworthy nature of AI and how it could be a little more dangerous than we all think. But that's another topic, another channel. It is, I will say this, it is going to impact the writing field. Thank you, John Clark, for loving the podcast. That is awesome. That you don't know how my sidekick does that with me. My wingman, the Medusa, and she really loves that when people do that. I'm not seeing any comments right now. I am not. Let me just. Yeah, I'm on the Rumble, baby. Okay, now it's up. Oh, okay. Leo, thank you so much for the 5 subs, and thank you for the tacos and coffee money. It is taco and coffee season, despite the heat. In fact, I found this new guy that's in my area that is an awesome food critic, and he is on a mission to convert me to every possible taco. The show and talk a little bit there. So if I ever do a Chaos Con, if you don't know, a lot of people refer to me by a certain nickname that I go by, which is Chaos Actual, which is also the name of my merch store, chaosactual.com. You'll be able to get to that through the website. You could actually just type in chaosactual.com and go over there. But if I ever do a Chaos Con, I will definitely have involved in that the renting of large, fancy public transport, like a fun bus, and we'll do a taco crawl, and that would be really fun. But for the next year, I've really got to grow this show, and I've got to work on 2 beautiful new science fiction and fantasy series that I'm working on, and then I have a Stephen King project I'm doing for a new publisher that I'm very, very excited about. So there is all that. So, well, John T. Doe went away. You did it. You went away. You were going to be here, and now you've gone away, John Doe. Are you coming back? Okay, until he comes back, I'm just going to talk a little bit about writing your best book. Write the best book that you can. That's all I can say. There is no great American novel. You're not competing with anybody. No one reads just one book. You don't have to be. Let me set you really free here. Is my camera frozen? My camera doesn't seem frozen. I'm live. It seems. I see it's frozen on Rumble. And I am plugged into the internet, so hold on real quick. Do you hear my voice and I'm still frozen? Yeah, that's weird.
On YouTube, you're not frozen.
Okay, on YouTube I'm not frozen.
Yeah.
Okay, and on X am I frozen? But on Rumble we're frozen.
Oh wait, you are unfrozen.
Okay, I'm unfrozen. Sorry. Okay, so we're doing good now. I'm sorry. All right, I'm back. I didn't say anything important because we just started talking about being unfrozen and frozen. So we should be all good. Everything should be great.
And John Tito, did you see what he said? We could pop it.
Okay, now John Tito is back. Let's get him on. Hey, John Tito, are you still here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I reach you 5x5. You have a very beautiful, warm, sexy voice. What's up tonight?
Hey. Not a whole lot. If you hear background noises, I've got kids. So
We love
Yeah.
kids, and that's the kids are the part of life. So if kids ruin your show, this show's not for you. All right, what's up, man?
Oh, same old. So I've right now I'm sitting on the very first rough draft. And the general feedback I've gotten from a couple of people so far has more or less been story is there, execution needs some improvement, as you would expect with the very first rough draft. And I think the general challenge I've got right now is trying to figure out one. I spent some time with Walt. Shout out Walt. He's given me some great recommendations on listening, actually putting it through some kind of audio player, so that way you can hear it and hear how natural things come across or don't come across. And so I'm going to be doing that, unfortunately. So there's stuff like that. But one thing I'm struggling a little bit with is a feedback that I've gotten. I was reviewing today from someone was that the main character seems inconsistent. And I'm not sure the best way to approach that.
All right, let's deal with that. But first off, and you've written this beginning to end, like you have typed it was a dark and stormy night and made it all the way to the end.
I have, surprisingly. Somehow I didn't die.
The first step, we need to congratulate that. So now I get to go to my media assets and I get to make sounds. Let's see. We got to celebrate that. That's not a good one. Let's see. No, wait. Okay. Here. That's your. And wait, we've got music on. We don't do music on this show. Thank you, Crow, for $50 for more coffee and tacos. Nothing like belt-fed coffee and tacos. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who's supporting the channel. Okay, so the reason I said like we've got to stop and congratulate, that's everybody, like there's a large portion of the people listening right now. They're like, that's awesome, because a lot of people are stuck somewhere between it's a dark and stormy night and the end, and you have overcome that. And that is not the most crucial step. It's the biggest step. It's the hardest one to do. But the great thing about it is now we have something to work with. And you immediately went and got feedback. I'm sure a lot of that felt good. You're uncertain because you're like, how many people are blowing smoke? It still feels good to have smoke blown. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, wow. Someone gave me some good feedback. They said the character seems inconsistent in their actions. Okay. Now, whenever we get feedback like that, the first thing we want to say is like, it's not like, do I trust this person's feedback? It's just like, what I would like is if somebody else said it. But if I really, like, there's certain people in my life that read my manuscripts. If they said that, I don't need another person. Now, go over to Nick's, what did we count it up for the last pitch? It was like, I have like 235,000 star reviews. Yeah. That's not including, like, I have more 5-star reviews than, and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, generally you get really nice reviews. I don't remember most of those. You know what ones I remember? The 1-star where the guy said that I was a racist against American Indians, even though I'm an American Indian. Yeah. So like it's the criticisms that stick. And the reason I bring that up is the first thing that we need to understand is this a valid criticism? Are other people having this same, like we've gotten some data, now we need to verify the data. So to fix this, before we fix it, what we want to do now is find out, this person made a comment, the main character's motivations are inconsistent. Is that about right?
Yeah, Sarah, I'd pull it back up, but it would take a minute.
That's okay. Well, I'll just
I mean, my general recollection of it, because I was reading it, a couple hours ago. General recollection was that the characters, and I'm now holding a baby, so woohoo.
That's okay.
But my general recollection was that the feedback was that the main character was inconsistent from portion to portion of the book, not necessarily across, chapter to chapter, but there's just general sections of the book that he seems to act one way, and then in others he takes actions that are inconsistent with how he was previously portrayed. Which honestly, I'll be upfront and tell you, with how I was writing and things like that, some of it was in spurts, some of it was late at night, some of it was during the day. That could definitely be a contributor to things.
Well, it's hard to like unless you're like, that's why I always advocate get some writing done every day, because you stay in the book more. If you do it in spurts, you go back, you're having, and this is not a big problem to fix, because you're going to fix it in the next pass. And I'm going to tell you how easy it is to fix. I just want to make sure that that's a valid criticism. And I mean, the amount of insane criticism that I've got sometimes made, it used to make Jason and I wonder on GE, did you even read this book? And you don't know, maybe it was, but so on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust this person? How well do you know this person?
Yeah, I'd say 7 out of 10.
Okay, so seven's a pretty high rate of confidence. Can you go to another one of the readers and share the assessment with them and say, did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that they say, yes, I did see it. Okay, now okay, this is something I need to fix. You're obviously going to rewrite this book now. And you're going to rewrite it what's going on, which is really going to help you to clarify the motivation. And you're probably going to see what this person is talking about. Okay, my character was kind of hot and hard charging here, and now they're kind of emo here, or whatever. Okay. A lot of the times that's very when I used to get criticisms early on and I was getting edited by HarperCollins, I would think that if they gave me a criticism, that meant that I need to rewrite the whole book based on that criticism. I now work with, my lifelong dedicated editor, who I hope never dies, because he basically is inside my brain. And we both are down to this, if I get something wrong, and I do, he just sent me back a manuscript this morning. He'll sometimes just fix it for me. He's like, I think what you're trying to do with this character is here. Or he'll say, this motivation is wrong. I'm only looking for one sentence. And so a lot of the times when you get these initial criticisms, one of the best things that you can do is how quickly and cheaply can I fix this? Because I've written a whole book, and what I don't want to do is suddenly feel you probably feel like that right now, I need to tear it down, and go all through it and make sure this guy is, and I've got a second thing that we're going to talk about fixing this. But sometimes when you're just going through the dialogue and you put in your mind, and this is now how we're going to fix this. You put in your mind okay, who is this character? Who is he most like on TV? Or who did I base him on? Or is he me? And is he responding to all the situations the way that, let's say the main character is you, or who is the main character? Who did you base him on?
Well, I would say a composite of a couple people.
Okay. So as you go through this, what you're going to do is you're going to say, are his actions consistent with like how Steve would do things? And if Steve wouldn't do it that way, then you're like, okay, I just need to like either rewrite how Steve said something or what Steve said, or I need to step into the third person omniscient as I'm writing non-dialogue and communicate to the reader, you know, like a lot of the time, like in the Tyrus Rex novels, Tyrus Rex doesn't say anything, but I will tell you how Tyrus Rex is thinking. And that makes him a brooding, kind of moody character. Tyrus Rex, he's maybe made one joke and no one got it. You know, so I try to keep him consistent. Now, your character is on a journey. And generally in writing, the character needs to start one way, and then stuff happens to that character, and then they learn something, and they become a new character at the end. They mature, they grow. That's kind of the hero's journey. You start off a farm boy, you end up the space prince. Along the way, you're supposed to like, oh, I thought I knew everything, and I thought I could bomb womp rats and all that kind of stuff, and now I realize it's all the Force, you know, which is, there's only the 3 Star Wars movies. There's no other Star Wars movies. So, you know, like, your character will need to not be inconsistent, but they will need to change. Now, that seems complex. One time, I watched an interview with the dude, Jeff Bridges, who played the Big Lebowski. And he brilliantly summed up how to make your character change. And he got that information when he was a kid, starting out acting, from his dad, Lloyd Bridges, who was once a big-time actor a long time ago, and then he was in Airplane, and then he was on Seinfeld as a very old man. And he asked his dad how to act, and he said, okay, here's how you act. You're going to go do a scene, and you're going to be in the scene, and someone is going to say something to you. And you're going to listen to what they say, and you're going to think about that, and then you're going to give your line back having taken into account what they said to you. Meaning, the information that happens to your character changes your character's outcomes, changes your character's reactions. So if we have this like hard-boiled bounty hunter killer and everything like that, and you know we think he's a tough guy and everything like that, blah blah blah, and he's going into this sex motel and he's getting out sex slaves and he's gunning down guys and he's like saying cool lines like mercy is for the weak, and he's gunning down the pimp and everything like that. But then he meets this orphan in the background that's being abused in the back room, and she says something to him, and now we realize, yeah, this dude's a hard killer, but he has an empathy for the weak. And so now, like, the next, he's not going to say a hard line to her. He's going to say something like, close your eyes, everything's going to be okay. You know, or like, hey, let me get you out of this, or whatever. Like, the things that happen to your character through this book, they need to be allowed to affect how that character responds. They need to be allowed, your character has permission to be changed by the events. So, you know, writing in spurts, like you talked about, I've done that. That's the classic way to end up with a character that's kind of all over the place. Because here's why you did that. And you were right to do it. You were trying to find out who the character is. You probably didn't understand the character. You thought you knew who the character was when you began. Did the character turn out to be somebody you knew better by the end? Do you have a better picture in your mind of the character by the end of the book that you wrote?
Yeah, I mean, the overall process, I mean, you put out 65K words, right? I mean, the overall process got me to a different place than I was expecting, right? By the end of it.
Yeah.
And
you
with him,
Yeah, you changed the process. And in writing that, the character as he ends is probably what the character actually is. So as you were writing your way through this first book, the reason the character is inconsistent is you were trying to find what works for the character. And by the end of the book, you probably figured out how let me put it this way. you have a level 2 understanding of who this character is now. If you were to write a series based on this character, most likely, like if you were like Jim Butcher and you were writing Harry Dresden, by the last book, you would be a 10th level character lord in this character. You would totally understand how this character would order a coffee and how they would wipe out a horde full of witch zombies. Like there's no like, by that time you've mastered this character. When you're first writing, I mean, I've put like different weapons in characters' hands, and like I'm still trying to figure this out. And then that's why now we get to that second draft where this is where the real like I said, the writing the book is the biggest step. It's not the most important step. I believe what you're about to do now in in draft 2, is the most important step. Because here is where the writing really, really begins. Because you have something to work with. You know how the story begins. You know how the story ends. You've developed a very good idea of how the characters will all interact, what their personalities are. And now you can write this book with a level of mastery that you did not possess when you first wrote this book. You know, so you can really get in here, and this will happen with side characters too. You'll be like, oh, you know what? I wrote this chick is really bitchy and, you know, Commander Mighty Girl and all this kind of stuff. And now I want to go harder on that. I hate her, you know, or you might have like, you know, now is the chance when you can really do the acting because you know where the scene needs to go. And now you're going to hear the dialogue that's false and you hear the dialogue that's true. And you're gonna see these moments where like, man, I could really go to 11 on this. And I would encourage you on this draft, go to 11 on everything. Put it all in. Make it larger than life. Like slam it home. And then when we go to draft 3, you can say, did I go too far? Do I need to pull it back a little? You know, like now really get into the writing. Now try to write it over the top. But you this is a lot. I never thought I would say this, but I like editing. And I like editing because of this feature. Because now I can really, really rewrite the book. If the truth were told and I didn't have like deadlines coming out my butt, I would love to sit down and write a book for an entire year. Just rewrite it and write it and write it and write it until it was like so awesome. And I would probably wreck it and overthink it, and everybody would be like, "This, I don't get this one," because I would probably I would just like, it's like, you know, like when your favorite band does their first album, and you're like, "This is the greatest band ever," and then they do the second album, and you're like, "That's okay," and then they do the third album, and they're trying to be artists, and it's like completely unintelligible. That would be me if I could write a book for a year. It would be my Koi Pond album. Does any of that help you, or do I need to go harder?
No, I think it does. You know, and part of the other struggle with it too is, you know, I have one better, like you were pointing out, better understanding of the characters is actually kind of funny. One of the pieces of feedback was that the last 80 pages of the book, where basically I was, you know, just pushing through and, you know, scheduling, hey, you're going to spend an hour each night writing something, right? And the feedback from one person specifically was the last 80 pages were the best part. And then the second best part were like the first, you know, 50 pages or something like that. It's everything in between that sucks now. No. But, you know, so it was one of those things where there's a lot of stuff that I can see needs to be worked on. And it's almost like I'm going squirrel and I'm having a hard time figuring out which part to go after first. So yeah,
I think just start from the beginning and read it to yourself. Maybe don't even edit. Just sit down and read it out loud. Like it. Do you listen to audiobooks?
You know, I don't have enough time to be able to do audiobooks, unfortunately. At least where I'm able to focus on it.
Just sit down and read it and see what you see, and see who. Again, not all the criticism is valid, and see what works, and what is this story called?
So I don't have a working title for it right now.
Can you
That's
tell us
kind
what it's
of
about? Because we're gonna see what rip it off.
no, totally fine. Let's see here if I can. Let's see if I can do this justice. It's generally about dealing with I'll say an alien race that is like Planned Parenthood materialists turned up to 11.
Okay, cool. I think a lot of us would really get behind that. I think I remember being where you're at when I finally had people editing me for the first time, because the first book that I finished, I didn't have anybody editing me. I just edited it and put it up because I didn't know any better. And when I finally got, quote unquote legit, and like people wanted to edit me and read me, it felt overwhelming. And I'm like, what's true and what's not true. And I just realized, like, you got to pay attention to everything everybody says. Not everything everybody says is true. And if it's not true, then in some way, shape, or form, I have failed to communicate what I was intent on communicating. And that's that's the biggest thing going into this book, is like all that they're saying in the criticism is like, you didn't communicate to me what's inside your brain. They don't know they're saying that. That's what they're saying. Because your brain knows the character now. Your brain knows those scenes. And, okay, someone said the last 80 pages were just absolute baller. Cool. Now just make the entire book the last 80 pages.
Yeah, no, good point.
Yeah, see, and you look in the comments, Steel Bubba says he's already intrigued based on the description. So you've got alien overlords who basically Planned Parenthood, who are basically trying to murder the hell out of all of us. That's not happening in real life now, right? Is it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody, spoiler. Everybody feels like, and it doesn't even like. I'm not even going to get political. How many times has he said that? Everybody on every side right now feels like everybody's trying to murder them. They will totally relate to this book.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh man.
Come back and talk about it again.
Awesome. Sounds like a
All
plan.
right. Thank you, boss.
Thanks. Y'all have a good.
All right. Who's next? Who wants to come in and share their pain? Who wants to open up a vein and slit it out all on the floor and show us all your writing ribaldry? You're right. It's the news, man. It's the news. But, it's funny. You can have a lot of fun with... yeah, exactly. That's the new Chaos Actual shirt. I'm not going to get political, but... Yeah, this is the time of year when my family my extended family especially, begins to make up reasons why we probably shouldn't get together for Thanksgiving. And it's funny because we're all on the same side. I'm just too much, right?
You just say things really strong.
Some people can't take the chaos con. But a lot of science fiction is mining current events for a science fictionalization. Dune and a Butlerian jihad written in the 70s is straight up spot on then as it is now. The Savage Wars, which I wrote as almost like, just not a joke, but like, who would ever believe that elites would all want to have closed societies that they run off into space, and then it turns into nightmares? And now, literally, I'm seeing news articles about that. And we all know the trouble that Control Alt Revolt got me into, and that was just me needing cybernetics. AI. That movie is just a that book. Control Alt Revolt is just a cyberpunk zombie movie, effectively. And that, somehow ended up in the real world shenanigans. So until somebody wants to jump back in, or somebody wants to ask a question, that I can answer live, and again, thank you for supporting the chat, I would talk to you about writing your best book. So when I stopped talking about that before, I was just saying to you that take the pressure off yourself to write the great American novel or to write the best novel. The strongest piece of advice I can give to you is this. Write the novel that you want to read. Now, how do you do that? Okay. Think of the best novels that you've read. And I don't mean like, oh, the prose was so great, or, you know, he made such great characters, or like everybody was reading this book. I mean, think of that one book, and maybe some of you guys can list them in the comments, and then that'd be cool because people could read them. But think of that one book that you tore apart because it was so good, and you dug that world, and you dug the tech or sci-fi or fantasy that was going on, and you just wanted to dive into that. You know, like you had the time of your life reading that book. What I would say to you is, that's probably the book you want to write. No, let's use Dragonlance. Let's say you loved the Dragonlance novels, or the Gord novels, you know, or the Black Company, or Hammer Slammers. I'm naming all the old books. And you just love that, and you're like, well, I could never write this because it's been written. That's true. You can't write Dragonlance, but you can write a book about heroes and dragons and the weapons that kill the dragons. You can't write the Black Company, but you can write about mercenaries in a fantasy grimdark setting. I did twice. It's called Forgotten Ruin and Strange Company. You can't write Star Wars. Jason Ansbach and I did. It's called Galaxy's Edge. You know what I'm saying? So one of the strongest, most powerful things I can tell you to set you free in your writing, and the reason that this becomes important is because if you are going to take this book and you are going to put it on Amazon, it's going to cost you some money. And you're going to feel the pinch of that money because you're going to want to earn that money back. Like, I mean, a cover might cost you $500, and editing might cost you anywhere between $400 to $3,000. My latest editing bill was $7,000 for a 221,000 word novel everybody's about to get. That's a big financial commitment. The cover for that was $1,500. The formatting for that is going to cost me about $1,000. There's some other things that go in there. You know, like there is now I'm a more expensive author because, you know, I've got a bigger machine and I need more people. When you're starting out, there's still going to be some money in there. And you're going to feel like, gosh, I hope this pays off and everything like that. Maybe I should be writing Lit RPG. Do you love Lit RPG? Was that the funnest book? Absolutely. Sparky, you should absolutely write Dragon Shank. I'm not kidding. Dragon Shiv is great too. You're going to like, and maybe you write your first book and then you get to know the author community and you figure this publishing thing out, and now you want to make some money, and you see that everybody's making money in vampire romance or thug life romance or mystery RPG or whatever it is, and you're like, well, I don't necessarily read those, but I see the money's there and I want the money. I can just tell you, having done a survey, that doesn't generally work. The people that I've seen make some good money sat down and wrote the book that they wanted to read. And they found those books. Dragon Hatchet was great. They found those books by looking back at the books that they read and then thinking, well, why don't I write a version of that? And not necessarily because it was successful, but because they had so much fun writing it. And we've all done that. You've watched a Michael Bay movie or an Aliens movie or whatever, and you're like, man, if I was a director, I would do this. I would have had this ship crash into this ship, and I would have had the aliens come, like tear the guy's throat. We've all planned how we would do it. That's why we play role-playing games. Well, writing is the ultimate role-playing game and or movie because you get to do whatever you want. And the Romans went around the world ripping everybody off of what worked. And that's how they made an empire. And we can do that as writers. We can look at what works. We can look what fires our imagination. And then we can write our version of that. And the strength in that is, there's two strengths. The first strength is, if you write it and have fun writing it, I guarantee you the readers are going to have fun reading it. That fun factor comes through. And the second thing is, if you write it and you had fun writing it and it gets successful, then you're going to write it again because that's what readers want. If you get a successful book like Dragon Hatchet, Dragon Shank, your second book can't be Love in the Time of Aliens. It has to be Dragon Shank 2, The Dragoning. And then they'll want Dragon Shank 3, Dragon Boogaloo. And then they'll want Dragon 4, Dragons Take New York City. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is when you write something that people enjoy, you have found a vein of gold. And you need to mine it now. And when you love what you're doing, you don't mind working in that mine. You don't mind writing 15 books based on dragons shanking each other. You know what I mean? But what happens if you absolutely hate romance, you faked your way through it, you wrote a sci-fi romance, you just felt like you were bleeding all over the page to get it done, and then it was a huge success. Now they want Love in the Time of Aliens 2. I guarantee you will shudder. You will make yourself sick writing something like that. If you didn't love it, the worst thing, it's almost like the genie in the bottle or some old-timey curse from all those fables. Like, don't do something that you love because you might end up being forced to do it for the rest of your life. And I have seen that people do that in writing, and it's like you can just watch the burnout. And you'll also blow all that money trying to make yourself happy because the writing makes you so miserable. And that you don't want the writing to be painful. You want the writing to be like really, really exciting. Like you can't wait to, like, if you're writing Dragon Shank, there's not going to be a problem getting the content done because you're having so much fun doing it. And then you meet all the Shankers, which is your little club, your little cult that's developed around your book, and they're giving you ideas and they're egging you on. And you guys, like, that's how Galaxy's Edge is. That's how Forgotten Ruin is. That's how Strange Company is. For me, like, I like hanging out with everybody who likes those books and the hot soup thing because that's a joke no one gets. We all get it. And that's when you're having fun. I'm writing a scene right now for Strange Company where, if you've ever been in the military, there's a thing called the safety brief. And you usually get it before you go on leave or for the weekend or something like that. And it's insane. I am having so much fun with that. And so it's not a chore. I'm not dreading doing it or anything like that. I can't wait to share it with people. So whatever, when I put it, I titled this, write your best book. I don't know what your best book is, but don't try to write the great American novel. Don't try to write somebody else. Don't try to compete with anybody else. Just write, like, it's Tuesday night. Power's out. TV's broke. Everybody's going to bed because there's nothing else to do. You need to sit up and kind of watch the night. You pour 2 fingers of bourbon over a nice big ice cube. You get out a cigar. You light a candle, and you're going to read by candlelight. And you just want to read the funnest book because you've had a hard day. You know what I mean? That's every day. Like, when you have a book, and maybe that's why a lot of people are slipping off of reading, because there's just so much junk that, the micro publishers that surround all of us right now are trying to write, clunky nerd with crappy AI save the universe. It's like, you did that. Do something else. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I know that if you write that book, whatever the book is, and if it's Dragon Shank and you have fun with it, I guarantee you're going to find some weirdos just like you that love to make Dragon Shank jokes. Bubba has a question.
And then Walt said maybe you should come on the show, but
Yeah, Walt, come on the show, man.
I mean Bubba. Bubba
Oh,
should come on the show.
Bubba should go on the show.
But he has a question in the meantime.
Okay.
Do you see it four up
I have 4 up.
from the bottom?
I have ideas on settings and world concepts, but I have trouble putting it on the page. Do you have a way to fix that? I do. Do you want to come on the show, Bubba? Or do you want me just to answer it? Okay, well, I'll start answering it, and then you can listen to my answer, and then if you want to ask follow-up questions, then we can follow up the questions.
He says sure, I'll go.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll just wait for you. It's a hot one. I have ideas on settings and world concepts, but I have trouble putting it on page. Do you have a way to fix that? Sure. I do. I think that where you're at right now is sort of the very beginning where we all start. I would say this. I generally don't start with a main character. I start with an idea. And I develop that idea in my head. So a lot of the times it'll just be a world building. So we could look at Forgotten Ruin. And I came to that idea because I read an article in Dragon Magazine about the time that my friend Jim Ward, who has now passed, got to play in a game at TSR in which they played World War II units versus trolls and vampires, and I think there were some orcs and stuff like that. And they just wanted to sort of like, you know, this is like in the 70s too. You know, they just wanted to see what that action was like, who would win. Turns out that I think Jim ran the trolls, and I think he did really well. So I thought that was really cool, and I owed a fantasy project to a publisher. And I thought, well, I could write this big, sprawling Lord of the Rings thing. Or, because I'm already kind of doing Space Marine, I can do a version of Space Marine set in a fantasy audience. So before I ever conceived of Talker or Tanner or Vandahar or Captain Knifehand or the Smudge or McCluskey or Last of Autumn, I thought of the concept of the world. So where you're at, Bubba, is a really fun and interesting place. Now, it has the potential to be very frustrating because right now you're on the fun side of it. You're having all these really, really great ideas, and you don't know what to do with them because what's the story? So what I would first start to do is I'd just open up a document in Word, and I would say, ideas for my story. You know what I mean? And then I'd go to the bullet point feature, and then I would, for about a week, I'd just fill out everything I could. Every night, I'd make a new bullet point, and I'd be like, the vampires live in this castle, and they have a forge that's from the future, and they can make 40-watt plasma guns. You know what I mean? Something like that. I would just begin. I wouldn't put myself under any gun. I'm not trying to build a story. I'm just trying to get all my cool ideas while I'm having them down on paper. I might write some scenes. Oh, there'd be this really awesome scene when, the storm giant Viking ship comes sailing through the air, and then the green dragon comes out of the swamp, and they fight a sky battle. Sparky says, once you have an idea for a world, events, or short story, are you getting ideas for what kind of people might emerge from that world? Okay, that's Sparky. That's good advice from Sparky. So I would say, like, for a week or two, I would just have fun doing exactly what you're doing right now and just enjoying creating the world. And you might have some ideas about scenes, and you might have some ideas about plot, but that's not that important. Bubba's on. But the question is, can Bubba talk?
Well, I didn't even know if I was in there or not yet.
You are here, brother.
I need you to stop moving, little man. Sorry, trying to change a diaper.
Virgil Kane, we'll have you on in just a moment. Let me help Bubba. So, did you hear what I said, Bubba?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, right now, why don't you just enjoy yourself and make notes? Don't feel
Okay.
any burden or anything like that. Just open that Word document, put my ideas for this crazy world, put a bullet point down, and then just type it out. Like, it doesn't have to be coherent. It just has to be like keywords and code phrases and little descriptions that are going to make you color this world. So what you're doing right now is you're just sketching stuff out. You're seeing what paints you want to work with. Just get all these ideas down. Now, let's say you spend like 2 weeks and you've mapped out the vampire people of upper echelon and the storm giant people and the Terminator people, and you thought, oh, it'd be really cool if this mountain had this name. Every possible just take everything at your skull and get it onto that paper. Whether it serves it or not, just the act of just getting your fingers to work over the keys and to make up stuff is cool. Now, the second phase of how to turn your ideas into a book starts like this. You have to think of what is the problem going on in this world. So, real quick, tell us your ideas about this world.
Well, it was actually a World War I inspired lit RPG style.
Sweet. And so would this be from the point of the Germans or the heroes?
Well, that was the part that I was uncertain on doing, was should it be based in reality or should it be based in a fictitious setting that has the exact same technology? And
I think for your money, go with the real setting, but go into the fantasy aspect. So like it's in World War I. What's going on?
well, it would be essentially right after the U.S. enters, and it's I don't know, like I was kind of taking kind of like conceptual concepts from like other things that I've listened to or seen, like for instance, what was one like solo leveling, like solo leveling, where it's like there's one person who has like all these capabilities, but no one knows why type of mentality.
So it's a lit RPG in that it's a sort of like gamified version of World War I, like Battlefield 1.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so now what you need to do is you say, okay, and this is probably in the future that people are playing this like crazy game.
No, it was more like actually during the war type thing.
Oh, okay, but it's lit RPG.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what you want to do now is you want to find out what the adventure is. Like, okay, does this guy have to survive one of the big battles? And let's say, pick your favorite World War I battle.
Let's go with Battle of Bella Wood. That's the only thing I can think of at the moment.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you could have also said the one that I never can pronounce, Ypres, which is the one.
Battle of Ypres.
Yeah. But okay, so now you sit down and you think about like, okay, Battle of Bella Woods. Okay, I got this guy. Interesting stuff is going on there, and now all you're going to do is figure out, okay, he needs a mission, And over the course of the mission, he is going to go from, I'm assuming, like noob to awesome guy. Is that about right?
I don't know yet.
Okay, cool. Well, in some way, shape, or form, this guy is going to be given a mission within the construct of this battlefield, and he's going to need to go accomplish that mission. It doesn't have to be lit RPG. It can literally be, I mean, it is lit RPG, but I'm just saying this is just something that would happen in a war.
Mhm.
And so this guy's like, hey, did you see that World War I movie about 3 or 4 years ago that was all one continuous shot?
1917.
Yeah, 1917. That was fun. Well,
Mhm.
like you can use that. This guy has to go cross all these battlefields to deliver this message. Otherwise, everybody gets killed. Now, obviously, that's been done. But in effect, think about that. Once you think about everything that you can think about for 2 weeks, putting down like, oh, it'd be cool to have this like battle in the middle of the night at the woods. It'd be cool if like this Sopwith camel crashed and the guy was able to get the gun out of there and mow down a bunch of Germans at this trench. And it would be cool if like suddenly, he's in this new area that's all muddy and those wonky tanks are coming in and they're getting all stuck and he's going from tank to tank, knifing everybody and throwing like grenades in there. Whatever set pieces you want to do, you just have to say the beginning of this novel, this guy is in the trench at the command tent. And then you say, at the end of this novel, this guy accomplishes this feat. So just using 1917. Guy starts off here getting a message at the command tent. Guy ends by trying to get the message to the guys before they get out of the trench. That's the end of that book. And you just say to yourself, like, I need to glue these 2 points together, and that's the story. Then you go back and you look at all your notes. Wonky tanks in the mud, Sopwith camel machine gun, firefight in the middle of the night with like 2 groups of guys who are lost in the woods, and maybe there's some zombie Germans in the fog. I don't know if you want to get fantastic. Dirigible flies over on a moonlit night and strafes him. Whatever set pieces you want to be in there, you now start looking at that story where the guy starts at the command tent to get mission. Mission ends when the guy reaches this point in the battlefield to deliver the message.
Mm-hmm. The original concept from this stemmed from me and my brother-in-law talking at one point, and it was trench warfare with werewolves.
Okay, so you didn't say that. So now we've got some
No.
fantasy stuff. That's good. See, that's cool. Now we can get away from the message thing. So So now you think up all this cool Battlefield 1 imagery, and this guy gets a message like, this guy is probably not a werewolf, or he could be a werewolf. It depends, but let's just work from the point of view he's not a werewolf. What you need
That
to
was
do
the intent.
you're normal dude in the British infantry, American infantry. Suddenly you get orders to go up to this other side of the battlefield, and report to the unit there. And so he goes there. But along the way, things get weird. Like, where's the battle? Like, where's everybody fighting? So in the first part of the novel, we begin to introduce, like, something's not right here. Then he gets to the unit, and they're all, like, stone cold killers. And they're like, no, the Germans are out there. And he's like, well, I see the trenches. I see the barbed wire. Why aren't you guys machine gunning each other? And then what we're doing is we're taking the new guy and indoctrinating them into the world. And like maybe he has a guy who comes along and he's like, that's not how we do it here. And now you write the first set piece, which is like, it's a full moon. The machine guns stop. The battlefield has fog all over it. And suddenly these werewolves start killing each other in the trench on both sides. Now you've got to explain that. But before you get to that point, you just have to decide what is the beginning of this story. After you do all your world building on a document, the next step is what is the beginning of this story and what is the end of this story. So What is the beginning of this story? Do you know?
Well, it was the beginning of the story that I kind of thought of having was kind of like one of those misdirection openings where it's, oh, you think this guy's the main character, but no, he gets killed at the end of the first chapter, and you now discover, oh, this is what the world is like. Holy hell.
Yeah, that's sometimes like a Bond opening, which is a little different, and that's a great opening. Like, you know, basically it's a bait and switch, or like it's Bond doing this really cool thing, and now we get to this story. Okay,
Yeah.
so that would still be the prequel, but we still need to meet a main character. So is that main character going to be a cool guy, or is he going to be like, I don't know anything about werewolves? You know, the beginning.
Can you not hammer on the wipes for me, please? Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So the beginning is this guy is going to get indoctrinated into the werewolf cult fighting in World War I. What's the end? If we think, have you ever read Interview with a Vampire?
No, watch the movie.
Okay. That's a book about vampires. Except Brad Pitt doesn't want to be a vampire. And Tom Cruise loves being a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
So now you think about your book in that respect. This guy is forced to become a werewolf infantryman. Does he love it or does he hate it? Like, are there aspects of Platoon to this? Do you have two werewolf platoon sergeants who are fighting for his soul? You know, like saying, hey, you need to embrace the blood ripping, you know? And maybe the other platoon sergeant is, you don't need to do this. You can become something else. And let's say you go ahead and figure out at the end of the novel, there's this big VC Kong Hill fight with the Germans, you know, or whatever it is. There's got to be a big final climax. And our character chooses a path. He chooses to become a werewolf. You know, he chooses the werewolf way. Okay, that's a little dark. You can still do it. But what happens at the end is he realizes, like, there's a reason he became a werewolf. Because he wanted to stop the bloody Hun. Because the bloody Huns, you know, you'd have to give him a reason now. He got a letter from his sister back in England, and the Germans like bombed something, and his mom died, you know, or his kid died or something like that. So now he's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to kill them. And that's when the sergeant's like, you have to drink the werewolf blood. And now you're a werewolf. And like, he does that. And then he's like, shit, I'm an animal. You know, like the tragedy is like, but you have to pick some moment where he goes, like, it's the beginning. I don't know anything about werewolves. Oh my gosh, I'm in a werewolf world in World War I. And then the end is he either embraces becoming the greatest werewolf infantryman he can ever be and ends up in World War II, in Korea, and Vietnam, and Gulf Storm, and, you know, Iran, and all this kind of stuff, because werewolves live a long time, or he gets put on ice. Or he says, you know, like Luke does at the end of Return of the Jedi, the end of all the Star Wars movies, when he throws down his lightsaber, he's like, I'm not pursuing that path. You know, like, you just have to, so you flesh out the world, establish the struggle that needs to happen, find your main character, and then pick a beginning and an end. And then the next and final step is you just pick that main character. And the easiest thing to do is pick a character that you've read about and that you like from novels. You probably want to pick me as a person. That's okay. I'm pretty heroic. No, I'm just joking.
Well, I was actually thinking, since there's going to be a lot of talons and that's close to knives, I was thinking, whoa.
Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna pick Crow, and he's gonna be your werewolf infantryman. Now, that's great. That's the best way to do it, because you know what Walt would say in every situation.
Coffee.
He'd probably be a little too giddy to become a werewolf.
He would be screaming for coffee, not blood, while ripping out someone's throat.
And it's like, all I'm saying is, like, that's how easy it is to do. Put all your ideas down, pick a struggle, a mission, establish a beginning point and an end point, and then this is what Stephen King tells you on writing. Just connect the 2 points. And the way that you connect the 2 points is you go back into all those ideas that you wrote down. Sopwith Cannibal Machine Gun, wonky tanks, moonlit night, werewolf infantry killing each other, and you just arrange a series of events that take you from, oh my gosh, I'm not a werewolf, I'm with werewolf infantry, to I'm Lord of the Werewolf Infantry. And that is the novel, and it is that easy to do.
Okay.
Does that answer all your questions?
Yeah,
All right.
I think it does. Do you think that answers the questions, Owen? Bless you.
He loves it. All right.
All right.
You want an exercise?
Thanks.
You want some homework?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Write down all your ideas for the next 2 weeks. Come back in 2 weeks. Write them down as bullet points. Keep each bullet point under a paragraph. Come back in 2 weeks and share the document with us.
I will try to remember that part while keeping a small one from jumping off a bed.
Exactly. Well, if he doesn't do this, revoke his usage of your literary persona. I'll see you later. Thank you, boss. Virgil Kane, you still want to come in? I think that was a really fun idea. I think everybody was really excited about, as Rhodesium says, have some Germans and Ruskies banding together to fight off the werewolves. That's a great set piece. You know what I mean? That'd be cool. Oh man, I mean, like, that's a great idea, Bubba. I really hope you pursue that. Virgil Kane, all right, copy it, the thing, and then come on in, and we will talkify and see how much you enjoy the Edison medicine. All right, boss, you're here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. I read you 5 by 5.
Okay, I need to mute you. Okay, can you still hear me?
I can.
Okay. I have a pacing question.
All right.
So the story I'm working on is it's MilScfi wrapped in a Louis L'Amour novel, which are two things that I love. But if I tell the story linearly, it's never going to get read. So it kind of needs to open with a gunfight.
I 100% already love this.
And so the question I have,
1863 Navy Colt revolver.
no.
No.
He his weapons are all going to be mil surplus after a war.
Oh, okay.
So this is all
sci-fi
in the
Western. It's not.
Yeah, this is the sci-fi. It's a sci-fi Western. Yeah, no,
Okay,
so no Navy.
That's
colors.
even better. I guess the 1863 would probably be out of the place on the planet Crodar.
Crodar.
Yeah.
So the first gunfight would happen from the character's perspective linearly later in the story.
Okay.
So it would be necessary for me to do some kind of flashbacks.
Yeah, this is the My Name is Earl effect.
Okay.
You're probably wondering how I got into this gunfight. Now I explain how I got into the gunfight.
Right. I was the question is, what are the rules? Are there any rules?
My mother would tell you there are no rules. She's only started saying that recently. I wish she would have said that when I was 11. I think that the what are the rules about making that choice? Is that what you're asking?
I think I've already kind of talked myself into making the choice. The choice is how do you execute?
How do you execute it? Well, I have started off novels with gunfights. Tyrus Rex is a science fiction Western, very much so. So I 100% understand what you are talking about. I highly believe and went through a very long period of starting every novel off with an action sequence, with a gunfighting sequence. I 100% did that in every Tyrus Rex novel that I wrote. Because I think this kind of the violence is part of this. And I like it when people make a definite choice to start off with action instead of what I think is the weak choice that a lot of writers who don't understand what they're writing yet, they're feeling their way into it. So I'm gonna give you a lot of like backstory on the planet Zordon and why the trade wars are in effect and the taxation effect, and this is all because of the exploration of the third millennium when and it's like a lot of the times that's the writer trying to figure out the story, and that's okay. A good editor will be like, great, let's get to this gunfight first, and then we'll do all that later. So your instincts are correct. Start with go check what that is. Start with basically effectively a good action sequence, and then
Yeah, you dropped out. I can't hear.
Hold on 1 second here. I got to check something. Mute myself. Okay, there I am. Sorry, I had to do something really quick. Okay, so starting off with an action sequence is really important. I think it's a very strong choice. What we never want to do, there really isn't a lot of rules for it, and I'm just telling you, I think that your instincts are really great. The rules are you can't cheat. Like what happens in that gunfight is you are now putting down a card, and you are saying this is what happens. You can't come back later and say that didn't happen. You can never invalidate the truth of what you've done in writing, like because the reader will feel stupid. They'll feel like you're doing something cheap, and they're also you can't withhold information from them in it like this battlefield, this fight is really cool and it's really critical, and you would have guessed what's going on, but I held back this one card, and now I'm going to reveal it to you later. That'll make the reader feel that won't make them feel good. But I think what you do in the opening gunfight is you show the violence, and through the violence, you try to establish. You do want to accomplish something in writing this, and it's a great time to set the stage for what kind of science fiction universe that we live in. So if you set this gunfight in a starport, and there's droids or bots being hit by stray fire, and perhaps a freighter blasts off and goes off overhead, or the type of weapons that they use, or perhaps there are aliens involved in this fight. The cool thing that you've done is you've done a lot of the heavy lifting to tell. Remember, when a person picks up a book, all they know about the book is the cover, and the cover really shouldn't say a ton. It should convey very specific stuff, but you can't put everything in the book on the cover. So they might read the description. I'm a very much less is more on descriptions for people, but that first chapter absolutely has to suck them in. Violence and conflict is very effective at doing that. But now we want to use some of the time in here to build the world building without being too preachy. You know what I mean? Not like, he drew his, hard max, 44 gigawatt weapon out of his, Silesian leather holster that he had, taken. You don't want to get suddenly info diving every moment of the battle. But now it's time to tell, if this gunfight takes place, in a science fiction setting, does it take place on the moons of Kobos, or is it on a jungle world? Are there 3 moons in the sky? You definitely want to, in this first chapter, communicate that this is a science fiction book. The gunfight aspect probably is going to sell the Western aspect. Well, I'm calling you out, Snake McGee, or bounty hunters are people will just detect the Western aspect. And again, because it's science fiction, you kind of want that Western aspect in the background. But the rule that I would follow in starting off with the gunfight is this is a great time to really immerse the reader in the science fiction-ness of this setting. And then the last thing I would do, if you're going to back up and info dump and tell how we got here, is that you have to finish that chapter on a penultimate moment. Most people don't understand the meaning of penultimate. I am not being pedantic. Penultimate is the moment before the ultimate moment. So perhaps our character gets shot. He's swapping in a new mag. It's his last mag. There's still 12 killers gunning for him. And that's when we get whatever version of, you probably wonder how I ended up here. And then you jump back. You spend 3 chapters kind of telling everything that led up to this. And then in the 4th chapter, you finish that battle where he wins. Does that help?
It does.
Okay.
I may have to use a different gunfight than the one I was thinking of, because there'll be definitely more than one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you're doing a Western.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a shit ton of gunfights and stuff like that. I mean, it can be a bar fight, a gunfight, or whatever. But you really want to nail down to that. Like, so when you publish a book, you've published books before, right? Or this would be your first book?
This will be my first novel.
Okay, this would be your first novel. So
I don't think my dissertation counts.
It does not.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people have put their dissertation up on Amazon.
No one's ever purchased it. I paid for every copy of it.
What is your dissertation in?
It's optical engineering.
Okay, yeah. A real quick overview is you will write this book, and it will be great, and you will have a fun time writing it, and then it'll be finished, and it'll be time to publish it. And so you'll go over to Amazon, and you will sign up for a KDP account, and that account will allow you to upload your books onto Amazon, and you will create a book. It's all very, like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm one of the dumbest people you've ever met in real life. And then you get a cover and you plug it all in. It's just menu driven. But you will get to this point in the filling out the book details where it says pick a genre. And there literally is science fiction and Western as a genre. There's, like, you can put it under Westerns. You could put it under science fiction. When you get to that point, there's some theory in that. And you could either go follow Dave Chesson and Kindle Rocket and figure out it exactly. But the reason I tell you that is what this book really is it's a science fiction book. It has Western elements. That's very common. But you wouldn't put it in as a Western because the old bubbas who like to read a book a day, Westerns are very popular on Amazon, and old dudes sit in their garage and power like a book a day. So you can make some good money there. But this is a science fiction book, and you can make some good money there too. But you would list this, and the reason I'm going on about this is you would list this book as a science fiction book. And then you would put a category in there that reflects, like a subcategory that reflects the Westernness. You would not use this as a Western book because people would be expecting something like Louis L'Amour. And this would not be that overtly. It will be that subtly. But initially, it is a science fiction book. So the reason I say all that is if someone picks up this book and you have this cool cover, and cover is 90% a buy decision, and they read the book description, hopefully, and it says something, like, Cal is this gunfighter on the edge of this galaxy and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff, and they go, okay, this sounds cool. I could be into this. That first chapter needs to give them exactly why they bought the book. And so it's a science fiction book, so it's got to be science fiction. If you suddenly start going on about range wars and, herding space cattle, or, independence movements or bob wire, space bob wire, laser wire, people are going to go, this doesn't feel so much as science fiction as it feels like a Western. You want to get them into your version of a science fiction Western pretty quickly. And so that's going to be like 3 moons in the sky, star freighter lifting off. I'm assuming energy weapons.
I had not, no energy weapons, although
That's great because we started off in Galaxy's Edge with any energy weapons, and then Doc wrote us a 10-page dissertation on why we should use projectile weapons in the future because they're still far superior than energy weapons.
So he would have some weapons that were mil surplus, but he does not have, say, war shots for them.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
just the kind of armor piercing kind of stuff, but you'd need to be able to kill a bear or something like that.
Yeah.
But he is a cyborg.
All right.
So it'll be evident that that this is a sci-fi novel, even though the setting would be a very kind of rustic setting where he makes his first, where there's the first conflict.
Yeah.
So,
Just play up whatever element is the science fiction element. Make sure that telegraphs really early, easy on. And it doesn't have to be from the get-go. It could be a bait and a switch. That might work. It might feel very pastoral and Western at first. And then suddenly this guy's like lacing everybody with his, targeting laser in his eye. And he gets shot and, there's hydraulic looking fluid that comes out that looks like blood, but you see a steel chassis underneath. That can be a fun way to do this too. It's just that in that first chapter, make sure that people understand that this is science fiction with Western themes. So I other than that, those are the only rules that occur to me.
okay. All right.
Sounds
Super.
great. Tell us about it.
So, hang on. Here, sorry, charity call. But I'm not feeling charitable tonight.
I feel it.
So, the basic plot is the second brand. If you're familiar with that book,
Okay.
He returns from a trip. The trip he is on is actually the anchor story for this book. When he returns home, he has a small horse ranch. His pregnant wife he finds is murdered. His ranch is burned. Horses are stolen. He goes on the trail, tracks them to it's the next valley over. It's about a 60-mile ride.
All right.
The opening scene has to happen, I think, later once he makes it to this other valley where he catches some of the guys.
Yeah.
That's the opening scene. The things that happen when he gets there, if I start there, I'll lose people in 2 pages. It just won't work. So he has a couple of things going against him. He knows that once word of this gets out, that the government will assume that he did this because of the program he was in. There were his cybernetic enhancements were known in that generation of cybernetic warriors to induce psychotic breaks under certain conditions. They think they've solved that problem. It turns out they haven't. That's where he just was. The guy he had served with had a break. He had to go. He was called in to go deal with it.
Okay.
That's the anchor story. Him killing a guy he had to serve with.
I like this because in a certain way it's I think one of the textures that you should consider is that the first gunfight almost portrays him as the bad guy, an enemy, like a really people should go like, why is he doing this?
One of the things when he is at home, he's fine.
Yeah.
And it turns out that there's something in the environment that is helping him, keeping him stable. Once he gets away from home, those things in the environment gets away from it. He begins to lose the ability to be rational. And by the time he catches these guys, he is ready to burn the entire place down and just his mental state is not great
Right.
at that time.
So the cool thing about that is this we're showing him at because more than likely just me reading if I was reading this, I would be like, oh, they actually designed him to be this way. Like it's not a bug, it's a feature. And what he's tried to do in sort of a Jeremiah Johnson way is reject that. In sort of an Unforgiven way is reject that. And we could initially see him as very like, oh, this guy's a murder machine. And then you show that in that first chapter, and then you go back and explain all this stuff that you're explaining. And it's like, and you don't even have to like, I think a fun part would be not to reveal that it's a feature, not a bug, till later. Kind of like what they're trying to state in Rambo that no one picks up on. They're like, you understand, this murder machine is this guy's default state. That's what we trained him to do. And the sheriff keeps going, no, he's just some punk, and you know we've got him, and we've got the National Guard and everything like that. And you just have this one lone voice in the wilderness, like, no, we trained this guy to be a killer. But the cool part is, you know, you show the initial what he's capable of when he's off the chain, and then you go back and like, this is how he tried to overcome it.
So it actually is a bug. When they stood these guys up, they didn't have a lot of time, and they were over designed. They had way too much stuff in them, and without really properly testing everything. This is something that gets resolved in the book. What the real issue is. I've worked all that out. Know how to handle it. So he kind of lives with this every day, thinking that he's going to lose his mind and kill everyone around him. Everybody, all the guys he served with, there's still a few of them left, and there are a few of them on the world, but they all live with that same knowledge that, and they don't really know why. You know, the organization, and it's a civilian contractor that built them. They don't really even know why. They thought during the war that they had figured out that these guys were essentially pilots for powered armor. Okay. But all of the control systems are cybernetic. They're built into the pilot. So the suits are actually just up armored exoskeletons. That's all they are. The original versions of them. Yeah. But they have so much stuff in there that was off the shelf kind of stuff that had gotten cobbled together and without enough testing time. And the original thought was that the systems wanted to make connection with the suit, and extended periods away from the suits, it was what drove them off the end. And there was there was an incident on one of the landing ships, one of the troop ships they were on, that got leaked to the press. So these guys became pretty much the boogeymen of the entire war. But they got retasked to a different kind of mission, because since they were still human, they couldn't just kill them all off. So they gave them a very dangerous mission later on. And it turned out that it was part of one of their subsystems that it's loosely based on a nanotech kind of system. So they're not self-replicating. But it turns out that if the population gets to too low a level, they operate off of a mesh network locally. So they have enough intelligence to repair stuff. Individually, the little machines don't know enough, so they have this mesh network. It turns out that while they're not sentient, the system is aware, and it doesn't want to die. Yeah. And the reason that drives them crazy is they're trying to get enough material for them to get their numbers back up. That ultimately is what the issue is, and it boils down to the availability of rare earth elements, which are rich in certain areas on this planet. So this
feels like very well grounded in science. It feels like you've got all your not all your research, but the material that you need to use to make this real. I have a feeling like this is actually going to be an issue within the next 20 years. So it's prescient. I think it's great. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that really loves the backstory.
Yeah.
So I have a ton of information on this. A lot of this is not going to get like in the book, but it's stuff I need to know to write.
Yep.
And yeah, I think one of my favorite parts of Forgotten Ruin is in the third book, the Book of Skelos.
Yes.
That whole thing, one of my favorite things you've ever written, actually. So
I'm hoping to finish the Book of Skelos because it's a story, and I just loved. I mean, basically, if people detected that is basically to an extent a post-apocalyptic version of A Tale for Owen Meany, which I had read around that time. It's kind of a wacky book, but I found it very profound, and and then it was able to touch base with my own childhood and things like that, and but I love so in a lot of ways this feels like real science fiction. And since I've been writing since 2011 and I was writing for HarperCollins, so much of science fiction just became monster porn or it became adventure porn. And this feels like it's got a really good depth and texture that will make people like. I just saw Backrooms, that movie, and it reminded me of 2001 because there's enough in there to think about. And so often we just get adventures in books and we don't get things to think about. And like everything all the stuff you're talking about there, I think about a lot lately. I think a lot about nanotechnology. I think a lot about what's going on. Obviously, we're being steered towards the cybernetic interface of human and war machine. I don't think a drone army is going to do it on its own. And I think we're headed in this direction. And, I was in the military, and people have been in the military long enough to know that there's a lot of terrible ideas in the military that people have had to live with. And I think this will be great. This is good. Come back and, maybe share a chapter with us when you get started.
will do.
But you don't have to. But
Well, no. Well, I mean,
everybody here loves it. We would love it.
but yeah, tonight I was working out orbital mechanics for this so that I don't say anything stupid with my communications.
Yeah.
I needed to work out in my own head. Okay, is what I want to do viable, even so, again, not that I'm ever going to write all this stuff all the notes that I made on that tonight. I need to know that,
Yeah.
so that it holds together in my head.
But the reader picks up on all that. I can just tell you, like, I'm not going to get hoogly boogly here. I'm just going to say one of the things that I've learned about writers and readers, don't be surprised if there's not some kind of quantum interface. And I don't use quantum in the term that people like to throw it around and everything like that. There is just some weird entanglement where readers can detect things that you didn't overtly put in there. And it's just like, I don't know. Are they like a dog? They can just smell the research or whatever. But you can tell the writing where someone did that, and you can tell the writing where they're faking it. I get a little hoogly boogly and think about the nature of quantum and how communications and relationships happen. That may be beyond everybody's head. They may not want to go down that sort of, spiritual esoteric thing. But I do think that there's something that when you do the work for yourself, you write more confidently. And here's a weird thing that happens. I learned not to over-describe scenes that I saw. That if I could allow the reader to, I'll put in enough for them to flavor their fuel machine, to get their brain turning on things. And what I found is they see that scene without me over describing it. And sometimes later I'll have like conversations with them in real life, and I'm amazed at sometimes how they saw it differently, or they saw it exactly as I saw it. But I can tell you, I saw it in my head. I didn't necessarily describe it, and you saw it. So I don't know what that's about, but I know that when you put in the work, even if it doesn't end up in there, all I can say is that it somehow textures it. I do believe that somehow the reader picks up on the scholarship. Is that a way to say it?
Yeah, you know, and when I read and listen to audiobooks, I have this continual stream of images going through my head. It's like I'm watching a movie.
Exactly.
And and when I'm trying to write as well, or I'm trying to conceive of some story to write, I'm visualizing what I want to write about. I think about the entire story in images of what those scenes are going to be before I've ever written a word about them.
Yeah. We understand so little about communication between human beings, and I think it's one of the least understood and actually least researched thing, even though you can get into semiotics, which I think is close to understanding the nature of communication. But writing is a really unusual form of communication, but it is communication. And all you're doing is conveying the things that you're seeing in your head to them, and then doing this weird thing where now it's almost like a game of telephone. Now they get to take that and see it as they see it. And I see so many people who have different experiences and similar experiences in viewing or reading the same thing. And it's just amazing. But I like this because it feels real. So I think you're tracking. And it's different than the typical cyborg novels that you get. Most of the cyborg novels now are much more, I'm the ultimate killing machine, and you know, we're going to do all this really cool stuff and blah, 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 which is a lot of the armor novels, you know, like in Galaxy's Edge, you know, I'm a super soldier and I'm better than everybody. But I think the issues that you're exploring, I think are pretty cool. So that could be fun.
You know, just, you know, a little more backstory. The contractor, the cybernetic integration laboratory, they're the ones that built them. Their function is to perfect the art of the Terminator.
Yeah.
And the troops, they found out later that the control runs are all in the software to turn them into essentially human Terminators so that they could be controlled.
Yeah.
The stuff they found later. And, you know, the contractor used the program basically to allow them to do human experimentation, which they were prohibited from doing.
Yeah.
And so these guys are all laboratory experiments, which is why they ended up like they did.
Yeah. This is literally happening now.
And they absolutely hate the contractors.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
but anyway, and that comes to a head in the third book.
wow.
I've got 3 planned out in the first series, and then I'll see once I get through the first one. But I know what happens in the next 2, and all based around dealing with their interaction with their creators, basically. So
Yeah.
in that respect, it is a Frankenstein kind of relationship. Frankenstein monster versus closer to Kuntz rather than Shelley, but
Exactly.
yeah.
Frankenstein is the modern novel no one understands, and it's in many ways it's stunning. You know, this is great. Like as Walt says, like I mean, you can see people like in here like this is good. I like it. Come back and share more. Thank you for coming on, boss.
I will. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for your help.
Oh, my pleasure. That's whatever I did, however I helped, I'm amazed. But I love seeing things like this instead of the trash that I'm seeing get out there, and especially the AI-driven trash. I like seeing somebody who is really putting the thought into it. And just like I was talking about, like readers will have fun if you had fun. Readers will think if you think.
So Walt says he wants to be a red shirt.
He would.
they do have the secondary mission they put them on. It was recon, which I set up as sort of a cross between MacV, SOG, and LERP.
Ooh.
And I didn't do this because of the dog in the because of Balder in the book. I'd forgotten about that, but it was actually a reference to Miami Vice, a comment I remembered. And Sonny was talking about this guy was killing LERP dogs because he trained them so well and they were too dangerous to take home. And that comment kind of stayed with me. And so as part of their team, they have a scout dog as well. So yeah, Walt can definitely be a red shirt, and there is going to be a scout dog as part of his team. He was the handler. So
That's I mean going back to Miami Vice, that is such brilliant writing. No one would write anything like that now. The fact that you have this Vietnam vet who doesn't want the LERP dogs to survive, like that's and that evoking that, like I was talking about, that's similar things have evoked like Forgotten Ruin and the things that I've written, and that's half the fun. Thank you.
Well, his other comment, his other line in that was, he was thinking to himself, yeah, and I should kill you and someone should kill me because we're all too dangerous to go back.
Yeah, exactly. That, I mean, there's the pathos those guys used to write with is so missing now. I mean, it's like, it's, would that I could write that great. That's great. Thank you so much. That was emotionally rewarding too. That was like dipping my cup in the intelligence water and getting like, oh yeah, we can be smart. We don't just have to be. Hey, I'm the first one sometimes that writes a little dumb and over the top, and I miss the fun concepts and the greater issues. The reason Star Trek the original series was so great because it went in on those core issues in a science fiction way, and that stuff was great. All right. Thank you, sir. Come back anytime.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
You too. All right. That is the show. We went long tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you for staying and hanging out. Thank you for supporting the chat on Rumble. I will go get coffee and tacos. Swing by the Chaos Actual store at chaosactual.com and pick yourself up a coffee and violence mug or a shirt. And stay tuned. Great things are happening. Write every day this week, even if it's just a sentence. You will be very rewarded. Have a great evening.